All right, what's going on, Boxing Heads? This is PYP. We got some things we want to talk about, Mark. Of course, let's go over the fights that we had this weekend. DAZN had a pretty decent card. William Zepeda fought Maxi Hughes in the main event. It was a fight for the WBA and IBF lightweight title eliminators. William Zepeda forces Maxi Hughes' corner to stop the fight. Mark, did Zepeda come out any brighter from beating Maxi Hughes in this manner?
You know what? It didn't go the way I thought it was gonna go. Maxi Hughes is a tougher fighter. Well, I thought he was a tougher fighter than that. I just think that he's a little bit more experienced, and he's been in there with a lot of tough guys in that division, and he seems to always at least be able to compete with them. And he always makes it fun with his nice boxing ability and his movement. And he usually boxes really well and is very accurate. Maxi Hughes just wasn't enough for him at all. I mean, Camaron really showed us what he is. He really made a statement. I know Maxi Hughes was supposed to lose, but it's just the way that he made him lose. I mean, he made him quit in the stool.
Yeah, I think it's always impressive when a fighter forces another fighter to call it quits in the corner. Subriel Matias has been very famous for doing that. But I was kind of expecting more of an emphatic stoppage as opposed to the way this one. It was very anticlimactic to me. Camaron has put himself in a great position, but it's also kind of a rock and a hard place, Mark. The two titles, or the two title holders that he's targeting after this fight would be the IBF title holder, which will be the winner of Lomachenko and Kambosos, and the WBA, which is, of course, Tank Davis. Which fight would you like to see Camaron in? He's also number one in the WBC for Shakur Stevenson's title. Which of those three fights do you think you would like to see Camaron chase, and what is more likely to happen out of all of them?
I'd like to see him in all of them.
Yeah,
Uh,
right?
like Camaron said, man, el que me pongan enfrente le doy. I think the easiest one, the closest one, I believe, to make is Shakur. I don't think Shakur is at the level of a Navarrete and a Tank. That would be a little bit harder to make. Oscar and Bob Arum have talked about that fight. It's been
Yeah, there
kind of
have been
brewing.
previous negotiations.
Uh, yeah, so I think that's the easier of all of them to make, and I'd like to see that one. And I talked to his stablemate and a couple of other pro boxers earlier. They'd like to see that one as well, and they agree that one seems like the one that's gonna happen. Although Camaro, not calling anybody out, um, but I think that's a great fight. That one is a great fight. I'd love to see that one. I'm a big Shakur fan, and Cameron is growing on me.
Yeah, we can pretty much, it's safe to say Tank fight is not in the cards just because of the way that the political climate with the promotions and the way that PBC likes to do business. I don't think you would see Camaron in there with Tank anytime soon. Never say never, of course. This is boxing after all. Shakur, there is history with Shakur having been offered or offering Camaron a fight. I think Shakur does stylistically probably fits more in Camaron's favor, although Camaron's style kind of fits Shakur's style as well. So that's an interesting clash of styles. But here's the thing, Mark. You know how Top Rank is. Top Rank is not innocent. They're also been guilty of keeping in-house fights. And what looks like is going to happen, they have Shakur Stevenson, who has a WBC belt. Now you've got Lomachenko and Kambosos fighting for the IBF. There's also a play at having Navarrete, I believe, fighting for the WBO title at 135. He's moving up there. Top Rank's going to hold 3 of the 4 titles at 135. You don't think they're going to match up their guys first before they put anybody else in with a golden boy fighter like Camaron? I think Camaron's going to be kind of frozen out of the picture. He's going to be on the outside looking in until Top Rank sorts out what they've got to sort out, and Gervonta Davis eventually just moves up into another weight class. But, hopefully I'm wrong. We'll see what happens after that. What about this Floyd Schofield, Kid Austin? He fought Suero, guy out of Dominican Republic, I thought this was a very disappointing fight. I initially was thinking it was going to be a pretty good fight. It ends in a DQ. Suero has been branded the dirtiest fighter at 135 pounds after his display. Did you see some of the dirty tactics there, Mark? And what did you think about them?
I thought that it was probably planned. After talking to a few pro boxers earlier today, they said that was probably the plan going in, but he got a little out of hand with it. Sometimes you're outmatched, so you make it dirty. You try to make a big fight of it and see what happens. But I think he went a little bit too far with it. What I didn't like is that Kid Austin really didn't know how to handle all that, man. He was getting roughed around. He got cut early. He was being pushed. I think he even got laced with a glove. He got headbutted. He got hit low, obviously, twice. And I don't think he was handling it well. He's young. I'm glad that it happened to him because he can probably learn from it. And what we do know from Schofield is he does learn well. So maybe he'll take this and learn from it.
One of the things, though, I'm starting to see a trend. This is the second time he's been cut in a fight. And if I'm not mistaken, the last time he was cut, it was also because he was leaping in with a punch head first and butting heads with the other opponent. I'd like to see him clean that up and not expose his head so much and leaping in with his head first and avoiding cuts like that. I guess there's a silver lining. He fought through this cut. It was a pretty bad cut. Fought through it. His corner did a good job of controlling the bleeding. I guess you could say this is still a learning experience for him. And he's going to need these kinds of experiences if he's going to fight at the world title level. Moving on to some news and notes, bro. A huge fight happening in Tokyo on May 6th. Naoya, the monster Inoue, is going to fight Luis Nery and put his undisputed 122-pound crown on the line on that night. It's going to be huge. Mark, for those who watch boxing as long as we have, Tokyo Dome should spark a memory for you guys. That's the place where Mike Tyson was knocked out and upset by James Buster Douglas many, many, many years ago. One of the biggest upsets in boxing. That place houses about 55,000 people. It's going to be a huge event. There's some history with Nery in Japan. He has some very bad history, actually, Mark. He stopped the respected champion, Yamanaka, 2 times, but each time he had broken the rules. One time he pissed dirty for this drug that's a steroid given to cattle to make them leaner and have more muscle. And another time he had knocked him out after that fight, after pissing dirty or prior to pissing dirty. And then he came in overweight the second time and stopped Yamanaka again and forcing him to retire. He was banned from Japan indefinitely after those 2 fights. Seems to me like this is a bit of a grudge match. What do you think? Inoue says no. This is not a grudge match. What happened in the past happened in the past. He's fighting Nery because Nery's the next man up. What do you think about that?
I think Inoue is a man of honor, and the next man's up. The next man is the next man up. But Nery is getting another chance, and I like it. I like Nery. He has the hopes of Mexico in his hands. It's going to be a tough one, but a lot of people in Mexico expect him to win, including the boxers I talked to today. A lot of people think Nery has the ability to win, and if he wins, we've been having an ongoing conversation here back and forth within all of our friends here, David. Who's the face of who's going to be the next face of boxing for Mexico? Imagine if Nery so happens to beat Inoue, wouldn't he be the immediate face of boxing in Mexico? But I'm
Yeah,
happy Nery's getting this second chance over there. It gives him a chance to redeem himself, redeem his name. He dishonored his name in the sport of boxing, and kudos to Inoue for helping him come back. I bet they would have never let him back if Inoue didn't want to fight him there.
absolutely. You have about 3 titles on the line that night because you have Jason Maloney, who's ring number 2 ranked bantamweight. He'll be fighting Yoshiki Takai, and that guy is 8-0 with 8 KOs. Former kickboxer who switched over to boxing and undefeated right now. Very inexperienced when it comes to boxing, but he's knocking people out, and they've got him in line for Jason Maloney. They offered Jason Maloney a lot of money for this fight. That's why he's taking it instead of a hometown defense. You also have Takuma Inoue, the Monster's brother, Little Monster.
Mm-hmm.
He's 19-1 with 5 KOs, the ring number 5 rated bantamweight. He's also on the card defending his WBA 180-pound title against Sho Ishida. And I don't know. I'm sensing that they're kind of putting these two on a crash course, Mark. I know we had Nakatani, who recently won a bantamweight title. And now you have 2 Japanese fighters holding bantamweight titles. Jason Maloney's fighting on the same card as Inoue's little brother, Takuma. They're probably setting them up to be in a unification bout pretty soon. So it makes sense. It's good. It makes sense for that to happen. There's also Seigo Yuri Akui. He will be defending his WBA title at 112 pounds on the card as well. So this is a huge card in Japan. Looking forward to it. It's happening on a Monday morning instead of a Tuesday morning on the US side, which means it's Monday evening in Japan. At least we know how that undercard's playing out, unlike our May 4th fight that we have going on in the States with Canelo. Have you heard any undercard news about that main event?
No undercard news on that main event at all.
Yeah,
I
it's
have
kind of
no
weird, right?
idea.
Here we have 3 title fights listed for a fights happening at the same time on the other side of the planet, and yet nothing for one of the biggest stars in boxing as far as a supporting bouts. Find it kind of strange, but whatever.
Let me add something to that, David. All of 2023 and 2024, the best cards have come from Japan both years, and they're going to continue to do so this year the way it looks.
We'll see what happens with the rest of the year. I think Japan is really cooking up some unification bouts, and that's what you want to see. You want to see these titles get consolidated. Yes, it's hard to keep them together once they're together, but have the champions fight each other. Let's find out who's the best in the division. Then you can break up the titles and do it all over again. All right, folks, that's it for now. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be checking you out on the next one.